Breaking news! My friends, take a deep breath, Detroit fans, because today's talk is serious. Something might be starting to raise concern in the trenches. And now, the question everyone's asking, did the Lions just let a golden opportunity slip away, one that could cost them down the road? But hold up, before we dive into this, make sure to smash that like button, help the channel grow, and drop a comment below if you can. Go Lions, I believe. Now turn up the volume, get comfortable, because today's video is going to make you think twice about what just happened in Detroit. The trade deadline came and went, and the Detroit Lions stood still. Nothing. No late-night calls, no surprise additions, not even a low-risk veteran to patch up what's clearly becoming a growing problem in the trenches. Brad Holmes and his front office, for all the good they've done, just sat tight. And after watching what's been happening on that offensive line these past few weeks, it's fair to ask, did the Lions just miss a critical opportunity to fix what could derail their season? Let's be clear. Nobody's saying this front office hasn't built a contender. Brad Holmes has been brilliant since the day he got to Detroit, but even good general managers can make mistakes. And right now, it feels like this was one of those times. Because if you've been watching the tape, you know this isn't the same offensive line that dominated last season. Frank Ragnow's retirement hit like a hammer. Taylor Decker is banged up with a bad shoulder and knee. Christian Mahogany's injury leaves a massive hole at left guard that won't be patched until at least mid-December, maybe later. The foundation of this offense, the line that made Jared Goff comfortable, that made David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs dangerous, has started to crack. The Lions' interior protection has fallen apart over the last 3 games against Kansas City, Tampa Bay, and Minnesota. Jared Goff hasn't looked comfortable in the pocket. The run game has gone from controlling the tempo to surviving by the skin of its teeth. You can see it. The timing is off. The confidence is shaky, and this group that once bullied defensive lines is now getting pushed around. And if you're wondering where the problem starts, it's right in the middle. Graham Glasgow, a veteran many thought would stabilize the unit, simply hasn't delivered. Pro Football Focus has him ranked 18th out of 33 qualified centers. That's average at best. Fantasy Points puts him even lower, bottom 8 among starting centers. When you've got a quarterback like Goff who needs a clean pocket to work rhythm throws, that's not good enough. So when the trade deadline hit, this was the moment to make a move. A chance to grab a veteran presence, maybe a Wyatt Teller, maybe even a versatile interior lineman like Kevin Zeitler. It didn't have to be a star, just someone solid, reliable, experienced enough to calm the chaos. But instead, the Lions decided to roll with practice squad depth. Dan Campbell said this morning that they're looking at guys like Coyote Awasika, Tristan Colon, Michael Neese, and Kingsley Edwakon. All hard-working players, but all unproven, all backups. Campbell even admitted they're still thinking through this whole thing, moving guys around, searching for the right combination. That's not what you want to hear in November when you're supposed to be sharpening your edge for a playoff run. And the timing couldn't be worse. The Lions will face the Commanders this weekend, and they should handle that. Washington is a mess. Injuries everywhere, key suspensions, a defense that's lost its identity. But 2 weeks from now, it's Philadelphia. Sunday Night Football. The Eagles are everything Detroit wants to be: deep, aggressive, fearless in the trenches. And Howie Roseman keeps proving it, trading a 3rd-round pick for edge rusher Jalen Phillips just to make a strength even stronger. Meanwhile, Detroit's 3rd-rounder this year went to acquire receiver Isaac Tessia, who hasn't even been a factor yet in the regular season. That's the kind of contrast that makes fans restless, because this team is close. So close. You can feel it, the chemistry, the belief, the leadership, but you also see what's holding them back. When Campbell goes on the radio and talks about maybe shuffling the O-line mid-season, it's a warning sign. This is a team good enough to compete with anybody when it's healthy and cohesive up front, but it's not that team right now. The pass protection is shaky. The run lanes that used to open like highways are now getting clogged before the handoff. And Goff, for all his accuracy and poise, isn't the guy who thrives under chaos. If he's not protected, the Lions' offense loses its rhythm, and when this offense loses its rhythm, it loses its identity. That's why standing pat feels like a mistake. The Lions could have added insurance, even if it was a small move. The Chargers, for example, picked up Trevor Penning from the Saints for a late 6th-round pick, just a 2027 6th. Nothing crazy. Penning's not a star. He struggled this season, but he's got size, starting experience, and he gives you something to work with. That's what you want at the deadline: flexibility. And Detroit, instead, chose to do nothing. Now, it's not panic time. This is still a team capable of winning the NFC North. They're 5-3. they've got winnable games ahead, and the locker room remains strong. Campbell's leadership, Ben Johnson's creativity, Hank Fraley's coaching on the O-line. There's no shortage of competence here, but when you step back and look at the big picture, you can't help but wonder if they just let a golden chance slip away. Because history tells us, championship windows don't stay open forever. You have to strike while your core is intact, while the roster is healthy enough, while the belief is still burning. The Lions had that chance at the deadline. They didn't take it, and now, as they prepare for the final stretch, they'll have to hope that internal solutions are enough, that reshuffling, patchwork lineups, and practice squad call-ups can somehow hold off elite pass rushes in the months to come. Because here's the thing, this isn't just about missing a name at the deadline. It's about the message it sends, both inside that locker room and across the league. When teams like Philadelphia, Indianapolis, and Dallas are all getting aggressive, making additions, showing their players, we're going all in, and your team does nothing, that silence speaks loudly. For a group that's fought through injuries, for veterans who have poured everything into this rebuild, it must feel a little frustrating to see the front office stay quiet when reinforcements were clearly needed. Now, Brad Holmes isn't reckless. He's methodical, deliberate, and long-term focused. That's why this franchise is in the shape it's in now, competitive, confident, respected. But sometimes, that careful patience can come at a cost. The Lions have built something special, but special doesn't last forever in this league. Windows close fast. You lose a starter here, a spark there, and suddenly the team that looked unstoppable starts looking ordinary. And right now, that offensive line is teetering on that edge. Dan Campbell said it himself. They're considering moving guys around. Maybe putting Kingsley Edwakun at center, maybe sliding Glasgow back to guard, maybe giving Coyote Awasika more reps. It's experimentation at a time when you should be reinforcing stability. That's risky, because when you start mixing and matching during the season, you disrupt chemistry, and chemistry is what made this unit dominant last year. You can have 5 talented linemen, but if they don't move as one, they don't win at the line of scrimmage. Let's not forget, Frank Ragnow was the anchor. He wasn't just one of the best centers in the league. He was the communicator, the field general. Losing that kind of presence changes everything. You can see it in the timing of the snaps, in the adjustments, in how Goff reacts when pressure hits early. When Ragnow was there, the pocket felt calm, controlled. Now, every series feels like it's one bad block away from disaster. And while Jared Goff is still playing at a high level overall, his game depends on protection. He's not the type of quarterback who thrives when the play breaks down. He's surgical when kept clean. He's human when chaos hits. It's also worth pointing out that the Lions' identity under Campbell has always been built from the inside out. Toughness in the trenches, winning up front, that's how they control tempo, wear down defenses, and unleash their play-action game. When the offensive line dominates, everything else flows. St. Brown finds his rhythm, Gibbs gets his space, and Goff starts dealing like he's in a 7-on-7 drill. But when that front line falters, this offense becomes predictable. Defenses know what's coming. They tee off. That's exactly what happened in those losses to Kansas City, Tampa Bay, and Minnesota. The rhythm evaporated because the line lost its edge. So when fans voice their frustration, when they say, "Why didn't we do anything?" It's not about overreacting. It's about urgency. It's about refusing to waste what's been built. Because this version of the Lions is good enough to compete for an NFC title. That's not hype. That's reality. But they can't do it if Goff is running for his life every other series. And it's not just about this week or next. Look at what's coming. Philadelphia, Dallas, the Rams, all physical, trench-dominant teams. The Lions can't afford to be experimenting with new combinations against those pass rushes. That's not a winning formula. And sure, Washington this week should be a rebound game. The Commanders are beat up. Their best linebacker Frankie Louvu is suspended. Their offense is a mess. Detroit will probably handle them. But what happens when they line up under the lights in Philly? What happens when Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat, and Haason Reddick start firing off the edge against a patchwork front? You can say next man up all you want, but there's a difference between depth and damage control. And right now, it feels like the Lions are closer to the latter. But to be fair, not everything is bleak. There's still time to fix this internally. Hank Fraley is one of the best offensive line coaches in football. If anyone can get this group back on track, it's him. And maybe, just maybe, these guys rally around the doubt. Maybe Glasgow responds to the criticism. Maybe Tate Ratledge continues to mature faster than expected. Maybe the line gels at the right time, and this non-move becomes a rallying point, a moment they look back on and say, "That's when we decided to prove everyone wrong." That's the beauty and the heartbreak of this sport. Every week tells a new story. You can't buy chemistry. You can't trade for toughness. And sometimes, staying quiet forces players to answer the challenge themselves. So now, it's up to them. The front office is done making moves. The roster is set. The excuses are gone. It's time for the guys in that locker room to take ownership of the moment, to decide whether this is just another good Lions team, or if it's the one that finally breaks through and turns belief into something real. And that's where I'll leave it tonight. What do you think, Lions fans? Did Brad Holmes make the right call trusting the roster to fix itself? Or should Detroit have pushed harder, even if it meant taking a risk at the deadline? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button if you want more deep dives like this, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss part 2 of our full breakdown. It's right here on the screen, because this is the moment where everything gets real. No more hypothetical trades, no more what ifs about free agents or missed calls. It's about execution now. You've got 8 weeks left to prove that this roster is more than just potential. The noise outside doesn't matter anymore. What matters is how the Lions respond when adversity hits, when those cracks in the offensive line get tested, and when the narrative starts to form around whether this team is truly built for January football. And that response will define who they are. Are they the same old Lions, the team that plays it safe and hopes things fix themselves? Or are they the new Detroit, the one that's fearless, the one that bites down on the mouthpiece and fights through it, even when it's not pretty? Because we've seen glimpses of both this season. We've seen the team that dominated Green Bay, bullied Baltimore, and looked unstoppable when the line was rolling. But we've also seen the one that looked flat against Minnesota, unsure against Kansas City, and downright sluggish in Tampa Bay. The difference between those versions starts in the trenches. You can't overstate how critical that unit is to everything Detroit wants to be. Ben Johnson's offense isn't built on improvisation, it's built on rhythm, structure, timing. Goff isn't Mahomes or Allen, he's a rhythm passer. Give him time, and he'll slice a defense apart with precision. Take that time away, and everything falls out of sync. That's why the decision not to bolster the O-line feels like rolling dice with the season, because you're putting faith in development and internal fixes instead of proven stability. That's fine when you're rebuilding, but when you're contending, that's a gamble.